If you watch this channel, you know I love my toys. I am in many ways a giant man-child. I'm a product of the 80s and 90s, and action figures were all the rage back then. It's probably why everyone in my generation still harkens back to their favorite He-Mans, Transformers, G.I. Joes, and all that matter, because you know why? Action figures are fun. I have always argued that the action figure was integral to a child's imagination. You know why? Because you could have many things, and say you have your Transformers and Thundercats, and they could cross-play. You were conjuring stories. You were being creative. And this is why I defend those shows that people call nothing more than glorified toy commercials. It's not the fact that, you know, they were, in reality, kind of toy commercials, but they were also kind of coming up with their own stuff. I mean, you look at the, you know, history of He-Man. I recommend watching that incredible Toys That Made Us doc on He-Man, and you saw that they were just throwing things at the wall, and it stuck. But what it did was capture people's imaginations, especially children, because they wanted those figures. And it also helped that the show was pretty cool too, because, well, they had to make up things whole cloth and they were allowed to play around. So this is why I have a deep, fond love for action figures. And as a kid that loved Godzilla, it killed me as a child that we didn't really have any action figures. Now that all changed in the mid-90s when a little company called Trendmasters came around and unveiled their line of Godzilla action figures. But that was as close as we ever got to having a proper Godzilla action figure. Man, I'm saying action figure a lot. Well, leave it to Bandai to finally come around and give us what many Godzilla fans have been demanding for a long time, a proper Godzilla action figure. And in today's episode, I am finally getting around to these guys that I've been sitting on for over a month now. And I'm looking at the Bandai Namco Godzilla action figures. In particular, this episode, the Final Wars one. So let's crack this bad boy open and see how he stands up. So as you can see here, this is the guy in question. It is the Final Wars Godzilla, just in time for the 20th anniversary of this fantastic film. Yes, I do love me my Final Wars. So the box is very reminiscent of Bandai Namco's other action figure line, especially the Gundams. So it is a sturdy, thick box. So on the back, we have Final Wars Godzilla and Kiru. I do have the Kiru. That's going to be another video. And as you can see, all of the mandatory stuff you need to have on your listings. On the side, we got the Final Wars suit, still one of my absolute favorite Godzilla suits of all time. There is the plastic window, so you can see in the inside. And then on the bottom, all that legal mumbo jumbo. So this guy ran me about $24.99 on Amazon. That's where I got it from. And like I said, it's been sitting on my shelf for a good month and a half now. Enough of me jibber-jabbing. Let's open this guy and see what the quality is on the inside. Nothing in the box. Let's put that over there. Okay, so there we go. He is in pieces. Let's get that open. So here's our guy and all of the pieces that he came. Very interesting way of packaging this thing, especially considering that most of these are going to be on store shelves and are kind of aimed at younger kids. So yeah, that's kind of wild, but it gives me good hope for durability though. So here he is, incomplete. So there is the arm socket, as you can see there, the ball socket for the leg, tail. So we got to assemble 40% of this dude, which is wild to me. This is absolutely wild. So let's get going. So here's his leg. So this is a basic ball socket joint, as you can see. very similar to how a lot of modern figures are done, especially on the Japanese side. And all right, snaps right on in. Let's get the foot in there. I guess that's cool. Arm. All right, now. Oh man, okay, does not want to go in there. Come on, you. Okay, have to come back and do this. Tail. Okay. Then right the butt. And you see, here's the issue. Now what we got going on here? There we go. So you need to hear that snap. All right. Now that he is fully assembled, we now have the Final Wars Godzilla action figure. As you see him gleaming off the light right there. And on first inspection, this, I'm actually kind of digging it. I'm kind of digging the look, the feel. I mean, he is essentially very movie accurate. His paint job is rather dark for the Final Wars color scheme, as he was a little more lighter gray. I understand going with a more bold color keeps things down, cost down, and also kind of makes the figure stand out more. So he stands at about 6 inches. He's not a bad size, so it's about standard action figure size, and he is very articulated. I'm a bit surprised here. So neck joint, as you can see right there. So you get a full swivel movement. The shoulders all have ball joints, so you can get a full rotation. You're seeing a lot of my hands. I apologize. There is a little bit of a shoulder or elbow joint. These do. Okay, so they move up and down, as you can see, and they kind of snap into place. They feel good and sturdy. The hands are on swivels. The hip joints allow for a full rotation, as you can see. So the knees are also on a hinge, and again, this is the issue I'm running into as I've been making this video, is the pieces you got to put in there. Man, you really got to get them in there. Yeah, that's the problem. So this is already becoming an issue. I can tell you that already. I'm kind of leaving this in here. There we go. Click right back in. So the feet swivel. The tail completely swivels, and there is 2 segments on the tail. So this guy moves side to side. This is on a full ball joint, which will move around, giving you plenty of dynamic poses for Godzilla. Now, as an action figure, this is doing its job. My only complaint thus far has been the pieces that you have to pop in. They don't seem to have the same sturdiness as the pieces that are already in there. Now, I understand for packaging purposes why they had to do this. I have seen the cards on the Japanese versions they come in, and they don't do this thing by taking the whole left side off. But yeah, I get it. But as a toy, I'm happy with this. I'm actually digging it. I mean, the price point is $24.99. I think the suggestive retail is $27, which unfortunately is the standard going for higher end action figures. You look no further than Hasbro and what they're doing with Marvel and the Star Wars stuff. It's just the times that we live in. But as far as something that you can give to a kid, this right here, this is absolutely perfect. This is 100% perfect. The sculpt is great. He is a hard plastic. There are some softer spots on the arms and hips. The paint is actually well done. If you can see here, there's some nice fading on the spines. that actually goes all the way down. So they did bother, unlike a lot of other Bandai stuff, to kind of give you a full continuity. The paint does match. I would argue in many ways that this is better painted than some of the more recent movie Monster Series figures. The face is actually well done. The mouth, teeth, and tongue are all painted in. And yeah, he's fairly sturdy. So you could give this to any kid and they could have a lot of fun with it. This is the one upside to action figures in comparison to, say, the Bandai vinyls, which are pretty immobile. Where here, you can do all kinds of crazy stuff. You can have Godzilla fight and wrestle, and that's the fun thing of an action figure. You can create scenarios. Now, there is one other piece. We have here the lower jaw with the beam effect. And I do appreciate that they did come with a beam effect. So let's swap this guy out and see how he looks. Go. All right, so there's the tongue, which now seeing what it is, it actually, there's a reason why this is actually very well painted and articulated. So now we got jawless Godzilla here. So here's the beam effect. So there's the joint right in there. Let me get it in. I'm just noticing. There we go. Okay. All right, so we have the full beam effect, which gives us the big splash, as you can see. It looks pretty cool coming out of his mouth. The beam is completely see-through, so you can light him up, give him, if you're an older collector and you like display, put a little light under there, and it really gives it a bit of a shine to it, as you can kind of see with the light hitting it right there. Go. Kind of looks cool. I do dig it. I can see an issue with switching out the jaw joint, and here's another problem with action figures that come with various switchable pieces, is that if you're giving this to a kid, this stuff's going to get lost. 100% of the time, something's going to get lost because, well, kids they don't have the same appreciation for these things. These are little pieces. They will get lost. And my only other quip with it is the fact that you have to assemble it, that some of these pieces will come off, get lost, and then you're kind of stuck with a half put together action figure. I do understand the reasoning for it, but I do feel it is probably one of the biggest downfalls of this actual figure. That said, my overall assessment of this guy is pretty high. I dig him a lot. I kind of love the fact that Bandai finally got off their butts, decided like, it's Godzilla, it's monsters. Monsters as action figures have historically always sold well, and I'm shocked it took them this long to finally get around to it. I do believe there was one other one done like years ago in the early 90s. I don't think it sold well, but beyond that, tooling is great, paint job is great. As something that is low cost in reasonable terms, this is pretty damn good, especially if you want to give your kids something to really play with outside of a Bandai vinyl figure. I know there are other things out there like Haya, and they are within reasonably priced considering what they are, but those are also pushing 50 to 60 bucks a pop, whereas you could eventually get a whole line of Godzilla characters for half the price, and something that you can feel confident giving to your kid that will hold up. Like if the figure stays in if the joints stay in the figure, this will hold up, and this can go into a toy chest, anything, and your kids can pop it out at any point and really play with it. That's kind of what these are meant for. Even though they are being sold to a more adult collector market, I would argue these are 100% made for kids, and they honestly should be on the same aisles as the Hasbro or Playmate stuff versus the collector aisles where all the NECA stuff is at. But yes, there you go. That is the Bandai Namco Godzilla Final Wars figure that I'm a big fan of. I really do enjoy this guy, and for the price point overall, He is a definite buy. I'm literally shocked by the quality of this figure. I've seen pictures, and it looked a little janky in some ways, but once it's in my hand in natural light, looks a lot better. There you guys go. That wraps up this review. Remember, if you like what you see, we do have a show. It's called the Kaiju Kingdom Podcast. You can find us at thekaijukingdompodcast.com. And if you don't like to download, well, we're available on all of your favorite podcast streamers, including Apple, Spotify, or wherever else you might find better podcasts. You can also find us on social media. It's right there. I don't have to list it off to you. You can read it. And if you like what you see here, please do feel free to give us a follow or not. I'm not your dad. I'm not telling you what to do, but hopefully you kind of like what we're putting out here. And that will wrap it up for this edition of the Koffers. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time.